What's up, YouTube? Thomas L here. With the Kentucky Derby tomorrow, I decided to do my top 10 favorite horse movies. Now, I'm not going to add films that just happens to involve horses in them, so pretty much no westerns or, I love The Wizard of Oz, but it only just has one major scene with a horse, and that's a horse with different colors, so I'm not really going to count. Like I said, I'm not going to count movies that just happens to feature horses. These are mainly movies that's all about horses. So, that being said, here's my list. Coming in at number 10 is War Horse. Now, this was a really touching little film. It was directed by Steven Spielberg, who I thought gave a really good job with this film. And it also has some really great cinematography. In the film, this actor named Jeremy Irvine plays a character named Albert, who has a beloved horse and named Joey, and he lives on a farm in British countryside. And so, at the outbreak of World War One, him and his horse, are falsely parted when Albert's father ends up selling the horse to the British cavalry. And so, against the backdrop of the Great War, Joey begins to go on a quest full of danger and joy and lots of other stuff um events, and he of course searches for his beloved horse, and it's a really sad little film, and the movie actually scored a Best Picture nomination at the Oscars. Like I said, the cinematography was cool. It was also based on a true story as well, so there's the true story aspect there. The lead actor, Jeremy Irving, him and his chemistry with the horse will steal your heart there. You also had Emily Watson was in this, Tom Wilkinson, some really good cast members. If you guys haven't seen Warhorse yet, definitely check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. It is a little slow at times, but it's still a pretty decent little film. Coming in at number 9 is Hidalgo. Now, in this film, the film is directed by Joe Johnston, who also gave us Captain America: The First Avenger. And the movie was, of course, released by Disney back in early 2000s. And in this film, it stars Viggo Mortensen as a cowboy named Frank Hopkins, who is a very expert horseman who performs in a Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. And so, when Omar Sharif's character, Sheik Radel, you know, pick challenges Hopkins to prove himself in a tenuous long distance horse race called the Ocean of Fire. Hopkins is forced to oblige and pretty much race with his Mustang, and this here is pretty much a horse racing movie. It's I guess you could say it's also an underdog story as well. This movie also had some really good cinematography, good performances by Morrison, and Omar Sharif was terrific in this. Really good film, and it's a really inspirational and inspiring film. Definitely check out Hidalgo if you haven't seen it yet. Coming in at number 8 is The Horse Whisperer. Now, in this, it stars a very young Scarlett Johansson, and in it, she plays a character named Grace, who's traumatized by a riding accident that badly injures her horse, and so her mother, played by Kristen Scott Thomas, she actually is a high-powered New York Magazine editor who realizes Grace will only recover once the horse is healed, so she takes them both to a Montana ranch where legendary horse whisperer Tom Booker, played by Robert Redford, begins to heal the horse, and there's sparks fly between the mother and Redford's character, and of course, Johansson's Grace character needs to try to overcome her fears and all that. It's a really touching film. It got released in early 90s, I believe 1994 if I'm not mistaken. And I adore, this was actually Johansson's first I believe it was her first feature, if I'm not mistaken. Then since then, of course, she's pretty much like Black Widow, and she's been like loads of other stuff since Horse Whisper. But anyway, this is actually a film I probably should have mentioned in my best Scarlett Johansson movies. It's really good. It's really inspiring. It's inspirational. Good performances by Redford, Thomas, and Johansson. Check it. And Robert Redford also directed the movie as well, so there's that. That has it going for it. Check out The Horse Whisperer. It's a 90s. It's a 90s classic right there. All right. Coming in at number 7 is Spirit, the Stallion of the Cimmerian. Now, in this, it features the voice of Matt Damon as a Mustang stallion, and he ends up he has like a journey through the untamed American frontier, and so like he encounters man for the first time, and Spirit, the fire is being broken, even as he like develops a remarkable friendship with a young LaCoya Brave. So like the courageous stallion, also finds love with a beautiful paint mirror named Rain. You know how I really recall this. I kind of call it. It's kind of like the Lion King, but with horses instead of lions. That's why I always looked at this film as. And gotta say, it's probably one of DreamWorks' most underappreciated films. I mean, it's not their best work or anything, because that honor, of course, goes to Shrek. Like, it's not anywhere near my top 10 favorite DreamWorks films or anything, but it's still a pretty decent film. It has some cool animation styles, good voice casts, and it had a pretty good story attached to it. If you guys still haven't seen Spirit yet, if it's like on Netflix or whatever, give it a go. It's another horse movie worth checking out. Coming in at number 6 is Black Beauty. Now, this is based on a book by Anna Sewell, which, now, Black Beauty has been adapted a couple of times, but like I say, this is probably the best adaptation they had. Like Black Beauty, which is the stallion, and it's also voiced by Alan Cumming, and it pretty much is told from the perspective of Black Stallion, he has a relaxed life in a English countryside, which is owned by a kindly farmer named Gray, played by Sean Bean. And by the way, Sean Bean doesn't die in this, because every time Sean Bean is in a movie, he suffers a pretty bad fate, but here he actually lives. So anyway, of course, later in life, the stallion is like forced to work as a taxi horse in London, and so like Black Stallion, finds himself in a care and loving. He pretty much finds himself in the care of loving owners again, but only after a series of drilling triumphs. Now, this movie, I mean, the Black Stallion that's a really beautiful horse right there. I mean, that's literally a horse you wish you could own. And Alan Cumming, I thought, like, even though he was just voicing the character, I felt like he really gave a great performance as a role. And Sean Bean, I mean, he's Sean Bean, he's always great. And this is also like a late 90s classic. I mean, it's very inspirational. It's inspiring. Yeah, definitely check out Black Stallion. It's worth watching. Coming in at number 5 is Flicka. Now, this movie takes place in modern-day Wyoming, and it stars Alison Lohman as a teenager named Katie, who dreams of working on an one day, and she also wants to take over her father's ranch. But of course, she ends up taming a Mustang and name her Flicker. But then, she and her new companion are more alike than she imagined, and so like Tim McGraw, I know Tim McGraw was great as a dad, but anyway, his character ends up selling Flicka, so Kate schemes to like win back the horse by entering a very dangerous and prestige race. This is definitely a really interesting movie to watch during the Kentucky Derby, because this has Kentucky Derby ran over right here. And I mean, I really like the chemistry between Alice Loman and Flicka. Maria Bello played the mother in this. She was pretty good. Yeah, this movie was also very inspirational. It was touching at times. You know, Alice Loman, I thought she was terrific here. Yeah, definitely check out Flicka if you guys haven't seen it. And they also did like a straight to DVD sequel, which I admit the sequel's not all that good, but the first Flicka is really great. All right, coming in at number 4 is Secretariat. In this film, it stars Diane Lane as a housewife and mother named Penny, who agrees to take over management of the family thoroughbreds after her father, played by the wonderful Scott Glenn, becomes ill. And so, she of course successfully navigate her way to the male dominant world of horse racing. And so, together, she teams up with a veteran trainer named Lucian, played by John Malkovich, and fosters a gifted code. And she pretty much automatically crosses the finish line into history as the Triple Crown winner in 1973 and all. This is also a really good inspirational true story. It's hard to believe that it was based on a true story, really. But anyway, Diane Lane, her chemistry with the horse was pretty cool. Scott Glenn, I really thought he was great in this. John Malkovich is always awesome. Yeah, definitely a really interesting film. I mean, believe it or not, this movie turns 10 next year. Wow. I mean, this movie got released in 2010. But it's a really good one. Diane Lane, she's always great, and she was terrific in this film. Alright, coming in at number 3. Alright, coming in at number 3 will be Seabiscuit. Now, the film takes place in the midst of the Great Depression, and it stars Jeff Bridges as a businessman who is coping the tragic death of his son, who's a jockey with a history of brutal injuries, played by and you also got a jockey here who has brutal injuries, played by Tom McGuire, and you also have a down and out horse trainer played by Chris Cooper, who all end up to help Seabiscuit, which is of course one of the most successful racing horses of all time. You also got Elizabeth Banks was also in this. This movie is also really inspirational. And kind of like Secretariat, this movie was also based on a true story. And if you read up on Seabiscuit, that was an interesting race right there. Anyway, and the horse I thought was really great here. I mean, I believe that was a real horse if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they CGI or anything. But yeah, Seabiscuit is. I probably could have added this at number 1, but my other top 2 favorite I kind of enjoy slightly more than Seabiscuit. But it does take away of fact how really good Seabiscuit is, and definitely check out Seabiscuit. It's another inspirational horse film. Alright. Coming in at number 2 is The Black Stallion. In this, it stars Kelly Reno as a character named Alec, who encounters a magnificent black Urbanian horse while traveling abroad a steamship across the coast of North Africa with his father, played by Oates Haxton. And so when a disaster destroys the ship, Alex is frees the horse and escape into the nearby island where they form a bond, and Alex rescue, and he assists the horse to be rescued and both return to America. And so there, Alec and a former jockey named Henry, played by Mickey Rooney, work to train the horse, which Alec ends up naming the Black for the race, and hence the Black Stallion. Now, this is not the only horse-based movie that Mickey Rooney is in. He's also in another film that's actually my number 1 favorite. I mean, it seemed like Mickey Rooney must loved horses back then, because he was in this and my number 1 favorite, which I'll get you in a bit. And I thought Kelly Reno was pretty good here. The movie also got released in, how did this get released, actually? Let's search this up before I went live. Yeah, it got released in 1979, and boy, that's boy, it was released that long. Dang, that was released like in the early '80s, but it got released in late '90s, and oh, also Telly Gall was also in this. The horse was pretty cool here. Yeah, I mean, I haven't. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, but I remember really enjoying it, and it's a really good horse film, and of course, it's a movie a bond about a man and a horse, and if you guys never had a chance to check out The Black Stallion, it's a '70s classic. Alright, speaking of Mickey Rooney, my number one favorite horse movie is Nashville Velvet, which stars Elizabeth Taylor as a character named Velvet Brown, who's who actually becomes the owner of a robustious horse, and so she decides to train it for England's Grand National race, and so she's aided by a former jockey named Amai Taylor, also played by Mickey Rooney, who encourages by her family, and the determined Velvet gets her stead, but however a last minute problem ends up arising with the jockey, and a unexpected rider must step in as a replacement on. Yeah, Mickey Rooney must seem to love horse movies back in the days. He was both in Black Stallion and Nashville Velvet, and this was also one of Elizabeth Taylor's earliest work. This movie got released like years before she did Cleopatra. Yeah, it's a really good movie. I really like the chemistry between Taylor and the horse. Their chemistry was pretty good. The movie also scored like a couple of Oscars as well. Not only that, you also had Angela Lansbury was in this. Donna Crisp. Yeah, you had some pretty good cast members in this, and it was also directed by Clarence Brown. Got released in 1944. It's a timeless classic, and it's definitely a movie you could probably watch over and over. It's a really good one. Yeah, if you guys want ever check out some of the classic old films like from the '40s, '30s, and all that, now you could probably put Nashville Velvet on that list. It's a classic, and if you guys never had a chance to check out Nashville Velvet, give it a go. But anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me do the quick rundown. Number 10, Warhorse. 9, Hidalgo. 8, The Horse Whisperer. 7, Spirit. 6, Black Beauty. 5, Flicka. 4, Secretariat. 3, Seabiscuit. 2, The Black Stallion. 1, Nashville Velvet. Now, there's loads of other ones I probably could have added. Let's see. Dreamer with Kurt Russell was a good one. Racing Stripes was okay. The Derby Stallion with Zac Efron was pretty good. You also had the Wild Stallion with Miranda Cosgrove. Let's see. Some pretty interesting ones here. Anyway, let me leave it to you guys. What are some of your favorite horse movies? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here is Tom Sells signing off.